All right, today we are going to take the stretcher that we built in the last video, and we are actually going to put the canvas around it. So we're going to wrap the canvas onto that stretcher. Now, when we go to do this, I'm going to cut our canvas about 3 inches bigger than the actual stretcher itself. So if depending on how you're doing it, if you're buying it off a roll or buying it just in sheets, just make sure you have about 3 inches around it. So that way it can wrap around. It's a little bit easier to pull on that way. Now, to get started with this, got my electric staple gun. You can use a manual staple gun. I did that for several years in college, but it is a little bit trickier. Takes a little bit more time to do. So we're just going to take this, put one staple in on this side, come over here to the other side, pull that nice and snug, put one in there, spin this around, and put one in right there. Come over here to the last side and get that stretched out nice and tight there, and boom, there we go. Now, so you can see I've already got the eyelets in here for the actual wire to hang it from. A little bit easier to do when the canvas isn't on there, so just put those however far down you want to do it. I usually split the difference of the width here, and then depending on the actual size of the canvas, I usually do 2.5 to 3 inches down. So this is going to be a horizontal canvas, as you can see. So what that means is there is a certain way that I want to stretch this. So I want to do it to where on my corners here that I have everything is underneath, so that way when I look at it from the side I have a nice clean edge. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with the side here, the short side, and we're going to take this and pull this tight, and we're going to staple this down all the way to the end. Now, how many staples you put in it depends on what you want to do with it. Are you using it to where it's just going to be on here temporarily and it is going to come off, or is it going to be on here permanent forever and it's never going to come off? So if that's the case, you can put a little bit more in. If it's just on here temporary to where you're going to take it off, and obviously you don't want to put as many in there. Now, I'm using my hands to stretch it out like this. They do make clamps, or actually a pair of pliers, to do this, and I have used them. I'm not a fan of them. It just takes a lot more to do. It takes a little bit longer, and you need to have a little bit more material to grab onto, and I like to be as efficient as possible with my materials. So there's that, and we're going to come around. We're going to do the sides here. Now I'm only going to come out here. I'm going to leave a couple inches on the end. Here's check. I like my canvases nice and tight so they get kind of springy when you're doing it, and actually when you put some primer on it, it actually will get a little bit snugger. So I'm going to do that. Flip this around and do the same thing on this side. Like that. Now, if you're not quite as strong or your grip isn't quite there, it is possible to do these with 2 people, especially if you're working with a larger canvas. So you might want to have that extra hand. Now comes the fun part. So we got this little bit of extra here. I'm going to take this, we're going to come to our corner, we're going to fold this in half, come in at a 45-degree angle like this, pull that nice and snug, put a staple in there. And then we're going to come around here, take this material, and we're going to fold this around. You might have to tug on it just a little bit, roll it to get it right. And if can get this extra material out of there. Take this, pull this back, come in here, there we go. Nice clean edge. Staple there, hold that in place. Same thing there. And we put a couple just to hold that in. So what that does, gives you a crease here, but it gives you a nice clean smooth edge there. And when you're looking at it and it's hanging up on the side like this, you won't see that there. And we're going to do the same thing over here. And you take this, pull this in at a 45, pop a staple in there, pull that out, get this lined up nice and tidy. There we go. And then just come back and staple that up. There we go. And just work your way around. Same thing on this side. Come to the corner. Pop that in there. And slide this back a little bit. Pull that up. Go. And do the same thing over here. So we pull this, wrap that at 45, pop that in there, and then slide this around. Now this is why you don't necessarily want to have all that extra material in here. Got some extra material there that I want to cut out of the way because it's going to bunch up on me. So we're just going to take this, trim the rest of that off here in a second. So we get this pulled nice and tidy. Get that lined up. Let's roll this in just a little bit more. Go. Staple in there. And we'll pull this nice and tight. Get all of our wrinkles out of the side there. And of course on the last one, we're using arrow staples. So we've got 4 nice clean edges around here. And then we just go through, trim up any extra material that you have because it is not needed. Just come in like this, use some scissors. And again, this is why you don't necessarily want to have all this extra here because you're not going to use it anyway. And whether you come in with an X-Acto, which I usually do, or some scissors, it does not matter. Get this trimmed up. And then once you've got it trimmed up, if you see any places where you need to go in, staple it down a little bit more just to make sure that things are staying in place, then go ahead and do that. So we get this trimmed up here. So I've got a spot sticking out right here. So I come in, get that angle. Got another spot over here. Just make sure that these things are sticking down nice and tidy. And that is our canvas. And so enjoy your painting.